Hello everyone! Today I want to introduce a new Korean film called Colony, also known by its Korean title Gunchae. And the reason this film is getting attention is very simple. It is directed by Yeon Sang-ho, the filmmaker behind Train to Busan. For many international viewers, Train to Busan was the movie that proved Korean zombie cinema could work on a global scale. It had a very simple but powerful setup. A zombie outbreak on a moving train, a father trying to protect his daughter, and a group of passengers slowly revealing their true nature under extreme pressure. It was fast, emotional, and incredibly effective. Now, years later, Yeon Sang-ho has returned to the zombie genre with Colony. But this time, the zombies are different. They are not just fast. They are not just aggressive. They are connected. And that is the main idea of Colony. If Train to Busan was about running zombies, Colony is about networked zombies. The film takes place inside a large building in Seoul. A mysterious virus begins to spread during a biotech-related event, and the government quickly seals off the building. The people trapped inside have to survive, escape, and figure out what exactly is happening. So far, this sounds like a pretty familiar zombie movie. A virus. A locked-down space. Survivors trying to escape. Infected people becoming more dangerous. But Colony tries to separate itself from other zombie films through one central concept. The infected do not behave like individual monsters. Over time, they begin to move like a group. They learn from each other. They react to human strategies. And they seem to share information, almost like a single organism. That is why the title Colony matters. These zombies are not scary simply because they are violent. They are scary because they are connected. And that makes the movie feel very modern. Because we also live in a connected world. Social media, algorithms, artificial intelligence, data networks. We are constantly connected to systems that learn from us, predict us, and influence us. So in that sense, Colony is not just a zombie movie. It is a zombie movie for the age of AI, algorithms, and collective intelligence. That idea is genuinely interesting. And it is also very typical of Yeon Sang-ho. Yeon Sang-ho is a director who is very good at creating strong concepts. In The King of Pigs, he explored school violence and class brutality. In The Fake, he dealt with religion, manipulation, and belief. In Train to Busan, he used zombies to show selfishness, sacrifice, and social collapse. In Hellbound, he used supernatural punishment to explore mass hysteria, religious extremism, and public fear. And in Parasite, The Grey, he once again looked at what happens when non-human beings enter human society. Yeon is rarely interested in monsters only as monsters. For him, monsters are usually a mirror. They reveal what humans are really like. They expose how society behaves under pressure. They show how quickly fear can become violence, belief, or control. Colony follows that same pattern. The zombies are not just infected bodies. They represent a new kind of fear. The fear of a group that learns faster than individuals can react. This is where Yeon Sang-ho is still very strong. He knows how to create a big genre idea. He knows how to make a concept immediately understandable. And he knows how to connect horror with social anxiety. Just the phrase, zombies with collective intelligence, is enough to make you curious. But here's where we need to be honest. Yeon Sang-ho is a fascinating filmmaker, but he also has a recurring weakness. His ideas are often stronger than his details. And Colony seems to show that problem again. The concept is exciting. Zombies that share information, learn from failure, and evolve as a group. But while watching the film, you may start asking questions. How exactly do they share information? What are the rules of this collective intelligence? How far can they evolve? What are their limits? And most importantly, how deeply does this idea affect the human characters? Of course, a zombie movie does not need to explain everything scientifically. But when the central idea of the film is so specific, the world building needs to feel more precise. The problem with Yeon Sang-ho's recent work is that he often throws out a big, exciting concept, but does not always explore the smaller details deeply enough. He moves quickly. He creates big situations. He keeps the story going. But sometimes, the film leaves you thinking, that was a great idea, but I wish the movie had gone deeper. And that is probably the biggest weakness of Colony. Another issue is character depth. Yeon Sang-ho's characters often have clear functions. There is the selfless character, the selfish character, the mysterious character, the person who creates the crisis, the person who represents the system, the person who must sacrifice something. These characters work within the plot. But they do not always feel like fully developed human beings. Train to Busan was able to overcome this problem because its emotional structure was very simple and very strong. A father and a daughter. A man learning to care about others. A final sacrifice. That emotional line was direct, powerful, and easy to understand. But Colony has a more complicated setup. And because the idea is more complex, the characters also need more emotional depth. The film stars Jun Ji-hyun, also known internationally as Gianna Jun, as a biotechnology professor. For many Korean and international fans, her return to the big screen is a major point of interest. The cast also includes Koo Kyo-won, Ji Chang-wook, Shin Hyun-bin, Kim Shin-rock, and Go Soo. That is a very strong ensemble. But strong actors do not automatically mean strong characters. The question is, do these characters feel like people with complicated inner lives? Do we understand their fears, regrets, responsibilities, and moral conflicts? Or do they mostly exist to move the story from one crisis to the next? This is where Colony may feel disappointing. The characters have roles. They have things to do. But they may not always have enough emotional weight. And when characters lack depth, the danger also feels less personal. The zombies may be evolving, but the human drama does not always evolve with them. So is Colony a bad movie? No, I would not say that. It still has plenty of things that make it worth watching. The basic idea is strong. The visual image of zombies moving like a single organism is memorable. The lockdown building gives the film a clear survival structure. And as a Korean genre film, it has energy, scale, and ambition. For international audiences, Colony is especially interesting because it shows where Korean zombie cinema is trying to go after Train to Busan. Train to Busan gave the world a fast, emotional, high-pressure zombie thriller. Colony tries to update that formula for a different era. This is no longer just about infection. It is about connection. It is about learning. It is about a threat that becomes smarter as it grows. That is a very 2020s kind of fear. So even if the film is not perfect, the attempt itself is worth discussing. The Korean reaction to Colony seems to reflect this divide. Some viewers appreciate the fresh zombie concept, the scale, the cast, and the return of Yeon Sang-ho to the genre that made him internationally famous. But others point out familiar criticisms. The concept is stronger than the story. The characters are not deep enough. The emotional impact is weaker than Train to Busan. And Yeon Sang-ho's usual weaknesses are still there. I think that is a fair way to look at the film. Colony has a strong premise. But a strong premise is not the same thing as a fully satisfying movie. To become truly powerful, a movie needs more than a clever idea. It needs characters we care about. It needs details that make the world feel real. It needs emotional build-up. And it needs to connect its concept to the inner lives of its characters. Colony succeeds in some areas, but falls short in others. So how should we describe this film to international viewers? I would say this. Colony is not another Train to Busan, and it may not be as emotionally powerful as Train to Busan. But it is an important attempt to evolve the Korean zombie film. The zombies are no longer just bodies chasing humans. They are a network. They learn. They adapt. They become a colony. That makes the film feel fresh, at least on a conceptual level. At the same time, Colony also shows what Korean genre cinema, and Yeon Sang-ho in particular, still needs to work on. Big ideas are not enough. Famous actors are not enough. A stylish concept is not enough. For a film like this to truly work, the characters need to feel alive before the zombies attack. And that is where Colony feels weaker. In the end, Colony is a film with both ambition and limitations. It is a movie with a great idea, strong genre energy, and a very timely concept. But it also has thin characters, underdeveloped details, and emotional beats that do not always hit as hard as they should. That makes it a very interesting film to talk about, maybe even more interesting than it is satisfying as a movie. Because Colony shows both sides of Yeon Sang-ho. He is still one of Korea's most conceptually bold genre filmmakers. He still knows how to turn social anxiety into horror. And he still understands the power of a simple, catchy premise. But he also needs to go deeper. Deeper into character. Deeper into world building. Deeper into emotional detail. The zombies in Colony have evolved. Now the question is, has Yeon Sang-ho's filmmaking evolved with them? That is the question this movie leaves behind. And that is why Colony is worth discussing. Not because it is perfect, but because it shows where Korean zombie cinema is trying to go next. That is it for today's video. What do you think? Is Colony the next evolution of K-zombie cinema? Or is it another Yeon Sang-ho film with a brilliant idea but not enough emotional depth?